Good afternoon and welcome. I would ask that you rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask that you remain standing, and I would ask Kim or Conan to come forward to share our invocation.
Fellow Rotarians, please join me if you wish us to bow our heads in prayer. Our gracious Heavenly Father, your word says that even before we were created, every day and every moment of our lives were written in your book. So where we are today is no surprise to you. That gives us hope that we are not alone and that indeed you have the whole world in your hands. You are the source of all that is good. You are the source of all of our blessings. Thank you, Father, for every gift that has been given. Father, we look around us and we see advancements made possible only through your gifts of creativity, innovation, and intellect. We marvel at what we can create and often forget that we are all created in your image. And despite our forgetful nature, you love us dearly and want us to partner with you in the work. Bring us a renewed vision of ourselves from your perspective. Help us embrace your love so that we may share it with others. Guide us to make choices to act in loving ways towards ourselves and others, modeling community. Lord, we ask that you raise up God-led leaders who will be the beacon of hope. Help those who have been blessed to always remember we are called to be the salt and light in this world. Grant us a renewed vision as we seek you in your word. Give us dreams to change our community so that makes us come alive because we are doing what you created us to do. Let joy overflow from our fellow leaders that rise up and come alongside us with words of encouragement and sharing the burden of the task. Let us honor you with our work, our families, and our lives. We ask for your hand of blessing on this meeting and to those sharing their vision with us today. In your name we praise. Amen.
Thank you, Kim. I want to welcome our guests. We have many. It's great to see a full room here today and really looking forward to this program. I want to welcome 3 junior Rotarians, and I'm going to ask them to stand right now. Sam Markley from Washington High School, Elena Bergwald from O'Gorman, and Jonathan Skelton from Roosevelt. Thank you for being here. We look forward to having you all month and hearing from you later in the month. Update for you. You would have received an email a while recently regarding Sioux Falls Rotary West. They were awarded 2 global grants through Rotary International to distribute wheelchairs in the Ukraine and Philippines this fall. You know that has long been part of the mission of Sioux Falls Rotary West. And Stacy Kuto is here and can answer any more questions if you want to get more involved or be part of those trips. You can see Stacy in the back afterwards. But excited for them. They also are just coming off a $1.8 million capital campaign to raise dollars for their facility here in Sioux Falls so that they can do the work on the wheelchairs prior to taking off. So I want to congratulate Stacy and Rotary West on the capital campaign and the receiving of 2 global grants. And it's not all work and no play for Rotary West. The Rock and Roll for Hope is this Saturday night. They will be raising dollars for Hope Haven and a trip to Cuba. So if you haven't got your tickets yet and you want to participate in that event, Stacy can assist you with that. Looking ahead, Stacy is also the raffle chair for our district. And we will be starting our Rotary raffle here next week. Dan Kipley, thank you very much, is our chair, and I can help you beginning next Monday. We today are going to have the opportunity to induct 2 new Rotarians. One of the pleasures that we have is to invite other leaders to join us in this journey, be part of this club. And I'm going to ask, first and foremost, Nathan Stallinga to come forward along with Dashiell Larson, and of Nathan share a few words, and then we'll welcome Dashiell to the club.
Thank you, President Tony. Fellow Rotarians, it's my honor to introduce Dashiell Larson today. Dashiell is a University of South Dakota graduate with a degree in business administration. Immediately after graduation, Dashiell started his insurance career working for RAS in Sioux Falls as a claims adjuster. In 2013, he joined McKinney Olson as a risk executive selling both commercial and personal insurance, becoming a partner with the agency in 2020. He and his wife Whitney have 3 boys. They live here in Sioux Falls: Rivers, Beckett, and Ledger. His hobbies include golfing, hunting, fishing, and staying physically healthy. I've had the opportunity to know Dashiell for several years now, and I've watched him in a variety of settings, either volunteering with the chamber or professionally through business and personal insurance. But first and foremost, is a friend. If you ever want to have a good time golfing, call Dashiell up. First of all, it's fun to watch him golf. But second of all, I don't ever remember him not smiling. So just a great round and a great person to be around. Please welcome Dashiell Larson.
Thank you, Nathan. I'll slip him that $20 bill for bragging up my golf game. But in all seriousness, I am beyond excited to be a part of Downtown Rotary. You know, I look around. I thank Nathan for the encouragement to join. I look at Bernie DeWald, who is a longtime partner of our agency, and you know, I see all these successful people within the room, not just in business, but just personally. You know, there's just success in this room, and I know that all of you, you know, you wouldn't have chosen to be a part of Downtown Rotary if it wouldn't have had some impact on that success. So I'm excited to be a part of this. I'm excited to hopefully gain some of that success with my affiliation, and I'm excited to be an active member. So thank you for accepting my application.
All right, next I will ask former Governor Dennis Dugard to come forward.
Thank you, Tony. Fellow Rotarians and guests, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Jay Mitchell, who's a Senior Vice President and Business Banking Manager at Great Western Bank, soon to be First Interstate Bank. I've known Jay probably for between 15 and 20 years. He's a great guy. I'm not going to go into his biography, but I will say that he did have a little bit of an in to be accepted in this club, in as much as he is married to the membership chair, Laura Mitchell. And I will also say that he has very good judgment because, you know, Laura is my daughter and he married her. So please welcome a great guy, a strong man, a good father and a good husband and a great son-in-law, Jay Mitchell.
I think in all the years that I've been a part of the family, that's the shortest speech you've ever given. So, well, glad to be here again. My name is Jay Mitchell. Originally grew up the small town of Toronto, South Dakota, a little bit north of Brookings. Grew up on a farm there where we raised cattle and corn and soybeans. After that, I went to college at South Dakota State, earned a degree in business economics. Shortly after that, I moved down here and started working for Great Western Bank. Was a credit analyst to start with, and 15 years later, I'm now, as Dennis said, a senior vice president and business banking manager. My wife Laura and I live in Sioux Falls. We have 3 great entertaining daughters, so that keeps us busy. Glad to be a part of Downtown Rotary. Just always enjoyed coming as a guest and all the great programming and networking, and always just admired all the great leaders that come out of this group and that are a part of the Sioux Falls community. And looking forward to meeting all of you in the weeks ahead. Thank you.
All right, welcome Jay and Dashel. And while we're taking a picture, if Cindy, Dr. Griffiths, and Miles want to make their way to the stage, that would be great. All right, I am going to have Cindy, Dr. Griffiths, and Miles share their background, their bios, but really excited about this program. For many of you, you have seen the recent announcement. We're going to be talking about that, but also going to be talking about innovation throughout higher education and some of the amazing things that are happening in Madison and now in Sioux Falls when it comes to cyber research. And really looking forward to this conversation. So Miles, Dr. Griffiths, and Cindy, thank you for joining in this conversation. With that, we'll turn it over to Cindy.
Thank you, Tony. We are so pleased to have Jose Marie Griffiths, President of Dakota State University, and Miles Beacom, CEO of Premier Bank Card, with us today. I think you can tell by the room, everybody's really excited to hear what you have to say, myself included. But before we dive in too deeply into the topic at hand, Dr. Griffiths, share your journey that brought you to Madison, South Dakota.
It's a long one, but I'll shorten it for you. The first thing I should say is please know that my first name is not Doctor. You did give my first name, and I appreciate that, so thank you. It's Jose Marie. Most people just say Doctor because they don't know how to pronounce it. But, my husband had the ideal answer for that. He said, just think of the national anthem. Jose, can you see? And that's right. So anyway, we came. No, I've been in the United States now for 40 years, but my husband, Don, wanted to come to this part of the world at the point in 2014, 2015, when I realized that I was planning one more job, and it was probably going to be a university presidency. He was from Wyoming and grew up in Ames, Iowa, and really wanted to come back to this environment, to the people of this part of the world and the values and the family values that they espoused. And so he actually was every weekend was looking through the job ads in the Chronicle of Higher Education, and he found the position description for Dakota State University. And my answer when he first said, oh, take a look at this was, well, you know, it's got the word Dakota in it. That means it's cold. I really don't think I should look at it. But he said, no, this one sounds like you. And so we looked at it and thought, yes, came out, spent a great 2 days at Dakota State in Madison, and was staying in this very hotel the afternoon of the second day, 4 o'clock. He was taking a nap, and I got the call saying, we'd like to offer you the job. So I said, you're going to have to wait a little bit. My husband's asleep. But anyway, we called back and accepted the position. So that's how I came to be in Madison. And just prior to that, we had been in Rhode Island. So we actually have a permanent home in Rhode Island at the moment.
And so how long have you been president of Dakota State University?
Well, it's a little over 6.5 years. This is my 7th year. It's gone quickly, too.
Love it. Miles, what's your connection to Dakota State University?
Born and raised here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I had the opportunity to go to Dakota State in the late 70s. And then it was really focused on as a teaching school, and they also had a business area. And when I graduated from Dakota State in 1981, so add up those years, I had a major in business and a minor in economics. And at that time, just like my friends that graduated that same year or the year before me, they really thought they were going to have to leave the state for jobs. We just did not have a lot of jobs at that time. And I was fortunate when I graduated, news of Citibank coming into South Dakota was there. I had an opportunity to interview with Citibank, and believe it or not, I spent 2 days next door at the library trying to find out everything I could about Citibank. And you just couldn't look things up on your cell phone because there weren't cell phones at that time. And first question I was asked when I went in for my interview was, what do you know about us? And I told them a lot of things, and they said, okay, how do you know so much about us? And I said, I'd just like to do the homework on organizations I'd like to be a part of. And I more or less got hired before I left that office, but they had to do a background check, and thank goodness I passed that. But that was my start. But South Dakota boy, had lived in Chicago for about 3 years in the early 90s, and then had the opportunity to come back here to South Dakota, and a tremendous opportunity.
I love it. Wednesday, January 26th was a big day for DSU. Dr. Griffiths, tell this room what happened that day.
It was an amazing day. We'd been waiting for it for some time, and we were finally able to announce a $90 million initiative to grow the cyber research industry in South Dakota, based in Madison and Sioux Falls. But the big part of that, I think, was a lot of people by then had heard of the governor's request to the legislature for $30 million for investment in capacity building in Dakota State and Madison. That day, we were finally able to announce T. Denny Sanford's gift of $50 million to build a building in Sioux Falls, the gift of 16 acres of land from Sanford Health, and a commitment of $10 million in funding from the city of Sioux Falls, along with many of you were aware of the Forward Sioux Falls commitment of $250,000 in seed funding for planning, et cetera. So we were able to make those big announcements. I realized after we had all gone through our announcements on the stage, actually, nobody had said $90 million. But fortunately, we prepared the one-pager that's on your tables. And fortunately for that, we had the headline 90 million, because that's what it really added up to. It was amazing. It's transformational for Dakota State, for Madison, for Sioux Falls, and for South Dakota.
So we like details around here. What can we expect to see come out of this project? What are its outcomes?
The ultimate outcomes is 500 to 1,500 cybersecurity professionals. Starting salary is $100,000 a year. That's the starting salary now. I dare say that will go up every year as the market grows. But a real strong core of experts in offensive cybersecurity, helping defend the nation, helping defend critical systems across the United States. The real focus of what we are going to be doing is, in fact, national security and defense. The other side of what we do through our other research labs, the MAD labs, will protect organizations, corporations, municipalities, school districts, et cetera, in offensive and defensive cybersecurity. But the applied research lab is the hardcore stuff that only very few people actually are able to do.
I'd love to hear from both of you. Miles, I'll start with you. Why is this kind of a project important to South Dakota?
I think it's just huge to be able to keep our youth in the state, for one thing. And I go back to the days of Citibank, where that just changed South Dakota, the landscape of South Dakota, when Governor Janklow was able to bring Citibank to South Dakota. And I think at that time, we had to compete against the folks that were doing those functions out in New York, and they never thought we'd be able to pick them up. And our goal was always within a matter of weeks or early months to outperform them in productivity and quality. And in every case, we were able to do that. And I think at that time, we started building pride within ourselves that we can compete with anyone, not just in South Dakota. We're not inferior. We can compete with anyone from New York to California. It doesn't matter. And I think our confidence started going up. And then right behind that, then you look at what Governor Janklow did with the senior folks at Citibank, was to change the transition or the platform for Dakota State University and really turn it into a computer and technology expert base. And because of that, we're able to pull students out now that can go anywhere in the world. And that's why we want these functions, the MAD labs in Madison, we want the lab here in Sioux Falls, so those students stay in South Dakota versus going to DC or other large cities around the country. Let's keep that brain power right here and continue to grow. But it was incredible how that changed, that decision with Citibank changed South Dakota. Mm-hmm. This decision is just as big, if not bigger, by being able to keep, just think about that, those cyber experts right here in South Dakota. And as President Griffiths said, 500 to 1,500 jobs at 100,000 or better. And that's going to bring other businesses in to South Dakota as well, because they're going to want that expertise. And where do you want to move your company to if you need that expertise? To South Dakota. It's going to be an incredible opportunity. It's probably the biggest thing since Citibank, because it will just continue to provide incredible jobs here in South Dakota.
Dr. Griffiths, why do you think it's important for South Dakota?
For the same reason, keeping the people that we educate here to work in the economy. It's important for the economy. I mean, you've done a great job at bringing in new businesses into Sioux Falls, and Rapid City has done similar things. I think what this initiative does is really helps diversify the workforce. The kinds of people who are going to be working in our applied research lab are a little bit different from the kinds of people who are going to be working at Amazon, for example. Not to say we might not attract some Amazon research people to come and relocate here around us, but I think that diversification is very good for an economy, that you're not totally dependent on one or the other. What we're really doing is pooling expertise in a way that will just continue to attract. I mean, people want to go where the experts are. And hopefully for cybersecurity, they'll be increasingly come to South Dakota and come and we'll do executive education and we'll run conferences and we'll do other ancillary activities beyond the lab itself.
Wow. A project like this doesn't happen overnight. There's a timeline to it. Miles, this conversation, from what I understand, began as far back as the Dugard administration. Walk us through the timeline, and then Dr. Griffiths, jump in with any other pieces as well.
And I think it actually goes back to the Citibank transition.
Yeah, okay.
I think that was critical for South Dakota. One, showing that we have the gray matter, that we can take on those jobs. They don't have to just be in New York City or other places. And again, we outperformed what they were doing. From Citibank, then the transition at Dakota State was huge, not only for Dakota State, Madison, but for the entire state of South Dakota. And then you look at what now Senator Rounds, but Governor Rounds at the time did with the underground lab.
Mm-hmm.
Why in the world would we have an underground lab in South Dakota? But we have scientists from around the world coming to South Dakota and working with South Dakotans. Think about that. Then we have Governor Dugard that continued to say, we have to continue to improve things we have at Dakota State. We have to be able to keep our youth here in the state of South Dakota.
Take it from
And then
there.
President Griffiths joined us 6 years ago.
So take us from there. Give us an inside look at the rest of that timeline.
Well, as I came 6 years ago, and I remember the day when Governor Dugard asked a couple of us to go over and chat with him one day. And we were talking about what was happening and what the opportunities were. And I think it was, 4 or 5 months later, he and Senator Rounds went down to visit Denny Sanford. And what resulted from that was a gift from Denny Sanford, Miles and Lisa Beacom, and a grant from Governor Dugard, which allowed us to actually create and name the Beacom College of Computer and Cyber Sciences, the first College of Computer and Cyber Sciences so named in the United States. We were able to build the Mad Labs facility and the Applied Research Lab as one of the Mad Labs. We were able to do that. We were able to grow the college to some extent, and we were able to start the DSU Cyber Academy, which offers high school students the opportunity for dual credit classes in the majors, in computer science and cybersecurity majors. All of those in the end were really, I liken them to pilot projects. I didn't think about it at the time. We thought, here we are, we're doing this. But all of them became very successful. And then in, I remember the exact date, in April 2019, Governor Noem visited the campus. I had nominated her to give a talk at a National Security Agency meeting. And she came out to find out what we were doing. And at that point, we had part of our rationale for what we were doing was there's really nothing in the middle of the country focused on cybersecurity. Nobody's doing anything in the middle. I mean, we're doing bits and pieces, but there was nothing sizable in the middle of the country. And you look at everything along the coast. And we said, there's an opportunity here. And what if we could make South Dakota a cyber state? And she said, well, develop a plan. And so 6 months later, we had a plan. And We presented it to her. We presented it to Denny Sanford in early form. Then COVID hit, so everything went quiet for a little while as everyone was focused on that. And then we came back to it, and that all led up to a meeting in March, right? It was March Madness at the time. In March over at Premier Bank Card, and all the players were there, and it was an amazing morning. I gave a brief presentation, and we went around the table, and we said, yeah, this is important. We need to do this. This could be have major impact on South Dakota. Let's do it. And out of that was born what you heard on the 26th. Amazing.
Let's do it.
Yep, let's do it.
Miles, you've been a part of this story for an awfully long time. Why is it important to you personally?
It's tremendous for South Dakota. And when you look at the impact again that's going to have on South Dakota, it's amazing. And we're so fortunate when President Griffiths said yes to that Dakota State position. Every now and then I tell her to quit dreaming because she dreams up these ideas, and they're all great for South Dakota, but each one creates a lot of work for us to be able to do to implement those things. And but she is definitely a dreamer, and she chases those dreams, and she has been such a powerful impact for South Dakota and for Dakota State. We're fortunate to have her. Earlier she mentioned it's 500 to 1,500 jobs. That's the first time I heard her say that in public, because we keep talking 500 jobs in the first building. Now, how many buildings will we need if there's 1,500? I'll let you do the math on that. But because of the partnership even with Sanford Health, with the land there, we have the ability to continue to grow right there. But it's all partnerships, and it's just so much fun. And I think the governor was supposed to ask Denny for, I think it was it 15 or 20 million, I think, that day.
Something like that, yep.
And she asked for
90. She asked him to give the full 90 million.
Sure.
And we kind of
We
updated
oversat.
Denny that it's going to be like 15 or 20 million. And then it's 90. It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Denny's not going to listen to us anymore.
Well, let's
Yep.
talk about the cost of the project, or I guess the investment, right? The investment in the project, $90 million. As you've indicated and you shared high level, it takes a lot of partners to bring those kind of resources together. So I want to talk about each of those partners and connect those pieces. First, T. Denny investing $50 million. Miles, I'll stay with you. Why does an investment like that, investing in something like this, why did that make sense to him?
I think first he was a little shocked when he was asked for 90. But when Denny does things, rarely will he do the entire amount, because he wants to build partnerships with the community so everyone takes pride in what's being done. And that's where he came up with 50 from the 90, a little over half. And he said, no, we need to go find the rest of it. But if it didn't show something that he believed, and that's where Dr. Griffiths laid out, here, this could be 500 great paying jobs in South Dakota, growing to 1,500. We have a partnership with Sanford Health, and they were in the room with us, saying they'd give us the land for this. And you look at those partnerships, and then with the city, and then Madison. You can't forget Madison either, because Madison's saying, well, why not in Madison? But that's the partnership that Madison has with Dakota State, and they knew that it was going to be a great partnership with the community of Sioux Falls as well. So it tied them all together. And then he looked at it and he goes, I'll do it because I see the long-term payback in this to the community. All these jobs coming, and those jobs will multiply. And he says it's a great opportunity. So he was bought in very early on.
And Sanford Health, you spoke to that, the 16 acres, is that the right number?
Yeah.
To build the research facility. Dr. Griffiths, connect the dots of this project and healthcare.
Yeah, we were very pleased when Sanford Health offered the space, offered the land, because we have a relationship, a strategic alliance with Sanford Health that was announced a few years ago, that has us working collaboratively with them in a variety of different areas, including research, particularly, health information research, for example, in cybersecurity research. I mean, they're going to build a virtual care center that's going to offer services across rural areas. Those have to be protected. Those can be broken into, and people can interrupt data flows and the supply chain, and we all know about supply chain interruptions now. All of that is part of what we'll be doing. And then also some innovative projects to look at new technologies, either individually or in combination in support of rural healthcare. So it just made a lot of sense when they decided they were going to build the virtual care center, sort of operational center out by the sports complex, that they offered us the space right next door, so that actually that together actually fulfills the original intent, I believe, of the Forward Sioux Falls funding, which was to build a cyber/IT park. And so we're now saying we're building a cyber innovation park. That's what we want to call it out there. A little bit more than just the cyber research. It's now a cyber innovation in the sort of national security and defense area that probably most of you will never ever know about, plus the applications in the healthcare environment, which hopefully all of you would see in some form or another, regardless of your healthcare provider. So that's what we're really building there. And I think, to me, that's really very, very exciting. I could add that tomorrow I'm testifying in Pierre on a project with South Dakota State University to apply cybersecurity to the agricultural sector. And this is all part of the vision you've all heard about, because I've been to Rotary a couple of times and I put this up on a screen. It was a complicated picture, but it had in there all of these elements of the program. So literally we created a sort of roadmap, if you like, and we've been working through our roadmap. And now it's all seems to be coming together. So.
You spoke about Forward Sioux Falls, $250,000, knowing that myself, just about everybody in this room are loyal investors in Forward Sioux Falls. Miles, what was that conversation like with Forward Sioux Falls? And you may have spoken to it already, but is there anything you want to add in terms of why this should be a priority for our entire business community?
Again, the relationship between Forward Sioux Falls and all of the businesses and the growth of the community, and it's the partnerships. And that's why this one is just so amazing when you look at the state partnership, the city partnership, Forward Sioux Falls partnership, Dakota State partnership, and the Madison partnership. I mean, that's a lot of partnerships to coordinate. But think of all those partnerships, how much stronger this program and project is because of those partnerships. And Forward Sioux Falls sees that. They see that as a tremendous asset for Sioux Falls.
City of Sioux Falls looking at $10 million. What was the conversation, Dr. Griffiths, like with the mayor? It has to still go through approval. It's not been finished. How confident are you in that $10 million and it being approved by City Council?
Well, we've had several conversations with the mayor over his tenure as mayor on a variety of topics, but eventually ending up with this initiative. I have met, and our team has met with several of the councillors. I think we've met with most of them. A very positive reaction from people. A number of them were at the announcement and again came up and congratulated us. So I believe that the City of Sioux Falls, as represented by the council people, are committed to this project. So I feel comfortable. It's important, and I think there's a buzz now. People are sort of getting very excited about this. This is actually not just an idea on paper and not just words that I speak out of a stage. It's actually becoming real, and the opportunity is now being seen. You know, we all know that cybersecurity is only going to grow. Senator Round said that just a week ago, 2 weeks ago. The number of jobs in the United States that are vacant, 402,000 jobs vacant as of 2 weeks ago. You know, the demand is going to grow, and the need at the national security level and national defense is only going to grow. I mean, we're looking right now at concerns over what's happening in Ukraine, but expecting major concerns over what's happening digitally between certain parts of the world over there and the United States. And, you know, the first attacks will be digital cyber attacks.
And so the work happening in South Dakota could play a part in those. Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
We're working on these national systems, but you know, we can't tell you too much about them. The ultimate outcome is hopefully we stay safe.
Well, and the final piece of the financial puzzle, Governor Nome asked the state legislature to allocate $30 million The two of you have hung out in Pierre a couple times lately. Miles, I'll start with you. What kind of support are you hearing from the proposal? What kind of concerns? What have those conversations been like?
Last Wednesday, we were out in Pierre testifying in front of the State Senate Committee, and it was really amazing. No questions, so hopefully we answered any questions they may have had ahead of time, but it was unanimous vote to move forward to the Appropriations Committee. And so we believe it's going to be very good. Appropriations are always a little tougher, so we'll be ready for that as well. But I think most people see this as just a tremendous opportunity for South Dakota.
Dr. Griffiths, are you hearing any opposition?
No, not really. We had one letter to the editor for our local newspaper, but it's because someone didn't read the press release properly. It's okay. It was clear that the person hadn't read the press release, even though she was responding to the press release. No, the response has been very positive. But I want to talk about something about the spirit of collaboration.
Yeah.
When we talked to the city council members, they didn't have a lot of questions, but the key question, and several of them asked it, what does Madison think about this? I mean, that's an amazing thing. It's not, oh, yes, we want to do this. Or what about that other community that you live in? What do they think? Are they okay with this or not? And, Madison is okay because we kept the Madison community up to speed when it was sort of hovering, and before we could say anything publicly, they knew something was coming. And we kept them informed that we were not abandoning Madison. In fact, we had to strengthen Madison in order to make this happen. Madison's sort of the engine that makes all of this work. And so it's a win-win. Some people, I think, might ask, well, why aren't you going to Rapid City? And there's a reason for that, that our authorization to conduct this kind of work has to be, at the moment, within 50 miles of Dakota State. So the only place that really made sense was Sioux Falls, and it made perfect sense because you've got an airport. You think about all the people now we're going to have coming in and out from Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia and from Silicon Valley to come and interact on things. We need to be near an airport for that.
I think the other thing that really buys them in is today, you just think about 200 kids are graduating up there with cyber degrees on an annual basis. And that's going to go to 400. So tremendous opportunity for, again, Dakota State and for Madison. But think of that, 200 today, we're going to double that. And you go, okay, that won't take long to fill 500 positions here in Sioux Falls, or 1,000 or 1,500. But the other thing that's amazing is the number of contacts and calls I've received from people that have cyber degrees that want to come to South Dakota or move back to South Dakota. And we'll see that as well. Again, tremendous opportunity with that piece.
Yeah, and these numbers are not, I mean, they seem unreal in a way. We've had a contractor from the East Coast saying, could you give us 500 people? We've had a federal agency saying, oh, I could take 200 a year from you. I mean, these are numbers that we've never really thought about. And so I'm confident that we'll have jobs for these people. Right now, all of them get jobs. So I suspect we're going to continue to have a 99-100% placement rate for all of the graduates from those degrees.
Well, you just touched on a couple of things I was curious about. I too was wondering how Madison feels about this, but they see the connection. There's a synergy there. Would that be an appropriate word?
Yeah, I think they see that Madison has a role to play, and the governor's request is just reinforcing that. The first announced piece of this, well, apart from the Forward Sioux Falls, was in fact the governor's announcement, and that had an impact. I mean, $30 million is a lot of money at once to invest in Dakota State. And so that had impact. And what we were going to use this for, well, to double our capacity to generate graduates. I mean, that's huge. So there's more people coming in there. We also have the first phase of the Applied Research Lab sits in Madison. That will have 125 people. So in addition to 500 plus in Sioux Falls, we'll have 125 in Madison at compensation starting at $100,000. So that's a big impact on Madison as well.
That connects.
Yes.
Yes. The facility is expected to open fall 2025.
Yeah, hopefully.
You've talked about the 400 to 500 to 1,500 FTEs, all with six-figure salaries. There are very few weeks where someone isn't sitting up on the stage talking about workforce shortages. I imagine that was part of the conversation as well. Miles, where are those people going to come from?
Well, we have them today, but we're
Okay.
losing them upon graduation to DC or other large cities around the country. And it's time that we keep some of the brightest right here in the state with us, and build for the future. And as I said, there's other people that have degrees that would love to come to South Dakota. And this gives them that opportunity in cyber.
So that connection is really there as well. Let's switch gears. Logistically, and if I'm getting this wrong, this is a great place to correct it, make sure everyone's hearing the same thing. Logistically, the Board of Regents will own the facility, and there'll be a nonprofit established to manage staffing and programming. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Offer some clarity to how all of that works together.
Okay, but the facility will be a state facility
Okay.
owned by the Board of Regents through Dakota State. We did not want to increase the number of state employees by 500,000, 1,500. So the way to do that is we're creating a nonprofit organization for which the Board of Regents is the single member.
Okay.
And then that organization will hire the researchers to do the research and conduct the research. They will lease space from Dakota State, and the lease rate will allow us actually to bank some of the monies to build another building if we're highly successful. So we don't have to go back to anyone, Miles, for more resources to build the next building and the next building. Sure. But not for this project. I have a couple of other projects. But that's the intent. If you think about it, the cost of doing business in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, relative to Washington, D.C., or Northern Virginia, or San Jose, California, is easily, we think, about 40% less. So we hope to have market rates on our facility, plus overhead, and that in turn will allow us to reinvest. But will still be less expensive than it would be for them to stay where they are.
Makes sense.
Yes.
There's a lot of folks here today. I would love to offer the opportunity for those who are Rotarians. If you have a question you would like to ask, either on the stage, certainly welcome that opportunity if it's possible. We've got a microphone here. If you just raise your hand and I'll kind of, there's a downtown Rotarian, and because I'll have a couple final questions, but I sure want to share some time with our group here today. Any questions for this group? Yeah, Jesse.
President Griffiths, Miles, I think maybe you just answered this because Miles took a big gulp, but like, what's the next? This is a big deal. There's no doubt about it. But we know that there's always the next thing. And so if you can give us a sliver or a slice of whatever that next thing would be, that would be great.
Well, in fairness to Miles, I'll talk about something that relates to this rather than go on to the next big thing, which you won't talk to me anymore otherwise. And you are an alum, Jesse, she's an alum of DSU. I think the move we've made in anticipating the next big thing actually is our move into artificial intelligence, where we have 2 new undergraduate degree programs. And we are looking now at the first graduate program in artificial intelligence. If you think about, what's happening in computer science and IT generally, quantum encryption is going to change things dramatically. It has a lot to offer, but it also has a lot of issues that cause it not to be easy to implement and easy to use. So I would say some of those things will emerge. In the workforce arena, we are going to start doing more non-credit educational programs. We created a nonprofit organization called DSU SOAR that will be offering things complementary to what we offer at the university, which is for credit, but offering short courses, workshops in a way